Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to an all-new weekly art challenge review video. I'm your host, BJ Dell. If you are new to the channel, basically I do one of these videos every single Wednesday. At the end of the video, I give you guys a word prompt for that week, which you draw a design based on, and then you post online. If you want to take part in these challenges, stay tuned to the end of the video. I'll tell you exactly how you can participate. But then that following week, I handpick a few of the selections and I do a review video like the one you're watching now. So last week's word was fruits and veggies. So let's see what you guys came up with. Alright guys, let's go ahead and hop into this week's video, see what you guys came up with for the prompt of fruits and veggies. And the first one up this week is Terry, and I love this design. It really kind of makes me think of like some classic 70s, 80s advertisement art, something that you would see maybe posted in your school's cafeteria or like health class or something like that. I think it's really cool, even kind of reminiscent of Schoolhouse Rock. And I've talked about this in previous videos too, when you have multiple characters in one illustration to really kind of try to give them each their own personality. I think Terry really accomplished this very well. You've got different facial expressions here. Some of them are semi-similar with the eyes and the mouths, but really what stands out here is kind of the position of each character and the stance that they're taking, especially with, characters like this and giving, fruit, that bringing them to life feel with them having arms and legs. The fact that Terry went and gave them each their own kind of stance here. You've got, the hands on the hips, arms wrapped around each character, and they all really stand out from each other and have their kind of own feel and characteristics. And I think that is a really, really well done job. So thanks so much for sharing that this week, Terry. Next one up is, hopefully I say this right, Savina or Savina, and this one is really cool. This one is a traditional piece. So I've said this before in previous videos, but still get a lot of questions on this. If you guys want to take part in these art challenges, you do not need to submit digital work. I know my tutorials focus around, doing digital artwork with the iPad and Procreate and Photoshop and so on and so forth, but really these art challenges are for anyone that's creating art. So if you don't work digitally, if you work traditionally, feel free to still take part in these and submit your art. And Savina posted that she's been encouraged by her sister to post something related to the weekly prompts. So here are my fruits and veggies, a very quick, loose, traditional watercolor colored pencil. Don't have any experience in either medium, but thought I would jump a little bit further out of my comfort zone. So number one, fantastic job for just starting out with this medium. Really, really cool to see. And that's one thing I urge you guys to do too. If you really kind of want to get out of that comfort zone, try new stuff, try different mediums, try different techniques. The only thing that you can do is kind of further your artistic abilities. Granted, starting out you might fail, but that's okay. Everybody does starting out. I don't think this is a failure at all, so I'm really impressed that this is kind of the first attempt. But honestly, art's made for you. If you want to post it for other people to see, feel free to do that. But if it's a failure, just chalk it up to experience. You don't have to put it out there on the internet, and just use it as kind of a lesson and a learning experience and go from there. But this one is really great. Love seeing the traditional work. Just a really good collection of the different fruits and veggies. And like I said, starting out, I think this is a great, great first attempt. So we've got a lot of different values here. You can see with, I think this is an eggplant back here. You've got some really good shadows and some good highlights here. I love the different use of colors. And this is one thing that's really good about using fruits and veggies, that there's so many different colors in the different fruits and veggies that putting them together like this is really kind of, and lack of a better word, but cornucopia of colors and values and stuff like that, and it just really pops off the page. And I really, really like this. Love the shadows back here too, so you do have some kind of depth. One thing that I would kind of recommend and say don't be scared of doing is taking it one step further and going even deeper down the rabbit hole of, adding that depth and dimension to your designs. So with like the lettuce back here, we've got pretty much the light source coming in from here, as it's apparent by the highlight over here on the eggplant. So this is going to be the furthest back here with the lettuce. However, the lettuce really doesn't have, a lot of shadows to it. It's giving off a shadow down here. So I know it's a little bit trickier when you're doing traditional. You don't have that ability to undo stuff. And once it's locked in, you're pretty much set with it. But I would recommend like back here, just going in and adding some extra shadows back here to kind of build up the dimension in the lettuce back here. Same thing here with, some of the stuff, the strawberries here, maybe adding in some more shadows here, maybe some brighter highlights here. Banana, same thing here, just going in with some darker shadows here, maybe on the apple here. Carrot, you've got a pretty good buildup of the shadows on the back, so I like that. But same thing with the grapes here, just going in with a little bit darker of the shadows here. So kind of balancing out the shadows and the highlights is really going to add some more depth and dimension to your designs, make them look a little bit more realistic and pop a little bit more. But just a fantastic job. So thanks so much for sharing that one this week. Next one up is Aaron G. And Aaron's got this really cool kind of pixelated mosaic abstract apple here, and I really like this. I love the idea of just stacking these different rectangles and squares on top of each other. It's really cool too, using different shades of the red and pinks and kind of almost like purples to give off different values throughout. So each one of these squares and rectangles kind of has its own value, and as a combination of all of them really adds up to an interesting design. And I think this one's really cool. It's definitely taking a thought and going with it, and stepping out of the box and thinking about a design a little bit different. And a lot of people went with either cartoon fruit or vegetables this week, or realistic, and I think this was one that really stood out just because of that abstract feel and the way that Aaron went about it. So just really cool job. So thanks so much for submitting that this week. Next one up is Travis, and let me pull up what Travis said. Bit late this week, but here's my picture for this week's challenge. Apple and orange, also trying out different texture brushes, which was a lot of fun. And to be honest, that's what I've been doing a lot lately, is just playing around with my new texture brushes and just making some stuff that I usually don't do. So it's kind of taking a step out of that comfort zone that we talked about earlier. For my videos, you'll see a lot of my stuff really cartoony and super hard outlines with black, and I've been playing around with a lot of stuff like this using the texture brushes, so this is really cool to see. And I think building up the shadows and the way that you've done everything is just really well done. Love the textures that you used here. Background really pops here too. It's kind of got a almost like a pastel, like 1980s, which I go back there again, but a school background feel to it, which I think is cool. One thing that I would recommend here, looking and pulling a little bit further, is if you do stuff like this with a lot of textures and you're using the technique of, like here we'll talk about using the colors as the outline, definitely stick with that. I know I've mentioned in previous videos too, talking about this, is if you've got a certain style that you're using within a piece, definitely stick with that throughout the entire piece. So here we've got the outline being done by the colors, but then over here we've actually got an outline here and here. So with that, I wouldn't worry about that. Do not put the outline there if you're not going to use the outline here. Same thing with the orange over here. So we've got, once again, light source is coming in from this direction based on these highlights here. However, we've got this really kind of jagged dark outline over here. This is what's getting the most light, even though this has, the highlight here with the way it's coming down, that this line here, or this edge to this fruit, should almost have like a blown out look to it. So putting in that dark outline there really kind of goes against the light source direction that you're going for. So once again, just use the colors for that. And then I would lighten that up a little bit, not worry about that outline, but just a really fantastic piece. And I love the textures that you used on this one. So really great job, Travis. Next one up is Bambino Photography. This one came through Instagram. So I know I mentioned this at the end of the videos. If you guys don't use Facebook, that's cool. You don't have to join the group, which I'll tell you more about that at the end of the video. So stay tuned. You can always tag me on Instagram or Twitter with these challenge submissions. And this one, once again, like I said, came from Instagram, Bambino with a 0 photography. And this one I've kind of touched on before. I love, and I'm so impressed when somebody can kind of do an entire story in one frame of illustration. So We've got this, and it's really kind of a dark, morbid, like what is this banana and this apple doing to this poor carrot? But it's really cool that you can, kind of tell a story in that one single illustration, and I think that is really cool. Really interesting character design, like the looks of everything. A couple things that I would change here is we've got really kind of a cool face on the banana over here. So the way that the back of the banana or the front of the banana comes down here, and then you've got an eye here and an eye here. These work really well. However, with the apple, this eye actually follows along with that front of the apple. So something here that I would do, and there's a couple of ways that you can approach this. If you wanted to move this eye here back a little bit and then pull this other eye here out like that would work a little bit better. Even still, if you wanted to keep this one here, just pulling that out and away from the line that's formed there, and then pulling that eye here, it's going to look a little bit more natural. Having it, perfectly lined up with the side of the apple here just looks a little bit off, especially since it wasn't necessarily a design choice or, kind of look you were going for, just because the banana, didn't have, that same curve to it and didn't follow along that line. So that's something there I would change. And then also here, hopefully this shows up in the video. Yeah, I think it does. So we've kind of got this vignette around here, which is a cool idea, and I like the vignette approach with this, but kind of missed the opportunity here to have the vignette formed by the light. And I think that's maybe what you were going for, but the vignette up here actually reaches up and past the light. So what I would do for this is probably move up, if you wanted to move this light up, and then kind of spread this yellow down and around. And you can even add like an extra layer down here and blur it out to where the light is giving off that vignette. So you've got the yellow coming down, but then kind of like a white blur around. And that's going to help kind of solidify that vignette look. And so that it's coming from the light, with it coming back up and outside of the top of the light here. It doesn't really give off the effect that I think that you were trying, to have it happen. So like I said, just either pulling that up or just having that vignette and the light come off here, and then maybe a blur around this side. But just a really cool idea, and I loved seeing this one. So like I said, that one's from Instagram, so definitely give Bambino Photography a follow over there if you like their work. Next up, we've got Ren. And Ren's got just this whole kind of slew of characters, which I love. Just a great approach to the fruits and veggies. And I think it's cool here too, because this obviously has a distinct look, a distinct style to it. But going from one to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, they don't all look the same. So once again, giving personalities is one thing, but then also keeping with a style, but making each character its own is a little bit harder. Just kicking back here to Terry's, like I said, really good approach at making everything, have its own character and its own characteristics. But, looking here, the face for the carrot and the celery and the banana, they all look similar, which is okay for this design. It's a lot harder then to kind of keep the same style and give every single face a different feel while still keeping, the same overall aesthetic to it. And I think Ren did a fantastic job on this. Just a really cool approach, plus the overall kind of advertising approach with this background shape that kind of changes from one to the next, but then also having the text in here and the font that's used for it is really good from the one to the next. It's just a really cool approach, and I think this is really hard to do if you're kind of wanting to give a different feel, but keep that style. I think Ren just knocked this out of the park, so definitely check Ren out. Also has an Instagram page as well, and you can find that in the group. I don't actually have that on this one, but definitely check out Ren's work. Just super cool stuff. I'll actually, since I don't have this while I'm recording it, I'll post Ren's Instagram page down in the description if you want to check out his stuff on Instagram. Next up, we got Kale, and Kale's got this really cute sheet of vegetables. Kale said, so making sticker sheets, and this one kind of matched prompts this week. So really cool idea. And if you guys have watched my previous videos talking about, making money with your art and how to approach art and look at it a little bit differently, Kale's kind of got the idea with this. Definitely, sticker sheets is something that you can do. I really recommend, being able to make a design one time and sell it over and over again. Sticker sheets is one perfect example of that. Another example is if you would take this and sell it as clip art too, you could do that as well. And I just love, once again, that this really meshes well together. So you look from one design to the next, and this looks like a complete design, even though each one is, a separate entity, it's individual designs. You could put this on a page and this on a page. They look like they're drawn by the same person. They look like they match. So if you would sell this as something that you could use in, planners or bullet journals or something like that for stickers, I think this would sell fantastic. And Etsy's a just perfect place for stuff like this. I know there's been a lot of people talking about doing Etsy and posting stickers on Etsy. Kaz is another one that's been knocking it out of the park with stickers. Check her out as well. She's in the group and has been doing Etsy stickers. And I think this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about when I say work smarter, not harder. I know a lot of artists want to make something and sell it, and they feel accomplished and they've got clients. But if you can make something for yourself and sell it over and over again, really it's a great investment of your time, and it's kind of that perpetual income instead of signing off the rights to something and being done with it. If you can make something like this and just constantly sell it over and over again, that's really kind of the way to approach your art. So fantastic job, Kale. Last one up today is Brad M. And I know a few people went with this. Technically, I'm both fruit and vegetable. There's always the ongoing argument, is the tomato a fruit or a vegetable? And I think this one's really, really cool. So playing off that idea, but just a really great job of driving home, the expressions on these characters that kind of tie in to what's being said. So once again, it's really hard to tell a story with one frame, but this one, kind of cheats a little bit just because it's got, the text in here, but the way that it does it with the facial expressions, that it ties in the text to the facial expression, something that's kind of difficult and I know people struggle with, but something I definitely kind of stress the importance of and challenge yourself to be able to do this. Another thing here that I love is the hands. So I know I talk a lot about and go back to video games, but I call these the Rayman hands. So if you guys are fans of Rayman, you'll know Rayman doesn't actually have the arms. He's got kind of the floating feet, the floating hands. So a lot of people get caught up in worrying about, how to draw arms and where the elbow goes and the crease in the arm and stuff like that. Sometimes you can cheat and get away with it. And I think this is a perfect example. Rayman did it fantastically, the artist behind that character, and I think this one is just a great job. Brad kind of understands that, and the hands you can see here along with the facial expressions really drive home the point of what the tomato is saying. So when you're talking about expressions, when you're talking about emoting with a character, it's not all in the face, it's also with the hands. Also the stance as well, but you can see this, there's no stance, there's no arms, there's no legs or anything else, and to be able to tell that this tomato is saying this and this tomato is saying this just by using the facial expression and only hands is a fantastic job. So great job on that one. Appreciated you submitting that one this week and love seeing your work. So that is it for this week's prompt, fruits and vegetables. All right, guys, so that's it for this week's video. As always, thank you for watching. A special thanks goes out to everyone that participated in this week's challenge. I love seeing your guys' work week in and week out. So thanks so much for sharing. You guys are awesome. So last week's prompt was fruits and veggies, and this week the prompt is gargoyle. So let's see what you guys can do with that. Are you going to go and do a character from the classic gargoyle cartoon, or are you going to go more literal with it, take the classic architectural standpoint route with this one? Want to see what you guys can do. Looking forward to this one so much, so definitely share away. So here's how you can share. If you guys have not yet joined, hop on over to Facebook and join the Keep Creating group over there. Keep Creating, a learn, draw, share art community. I will link it in the description. That's where you can post your designs based on these prompts. They don't have to be digital, they can be traditional, and you don't have to just post prompts from these. You can post any artwork that you're doing. Just want to see what you guys are making, so hop on over there. If you guys don't have Facebook, you can always share them on Instagram or Twitter and tag me at BJDell, or you can send them to me through my contact form on my website, bjdell.com. So want to see what you guys can do. We'll be back next Wednesday with a new weekly art challenge review video. I do these every Wednesday, so you've got from Wednesday until the following Tuesday to submit your designs and get them in. That's it for me, so until next time. keep creating.